Hi, everyone. Welcome to Global Ed Student Chat for December. We are excited that you are here. You might be seeing this a little bit delayed, but this will be up on our YouTube channel. So thank you for tuning into this important conversation around school culture. We have with us several guests from around the world, and I'm going to take a minute to let them say hello to you before we dig in. First off, our expert on the panel is Jeff Zuhl. Jeff, would you mind introducing yourself?
Thanks, Michael. Jeff Zuhl. I'm with you today from Chicago, Illinois, and lifelong educator. My first job was teaching first grade. I taught for 18 years. My last year of teaching, I taught 12th grade high school English. So that's kind of unique about me, that I started in first grade and stopped teaching in senior year of high school. And after that, I moved into administration. I was an assistant principal and a district office leader, and in charge of teaching and learning at the district office level. And on the side, I've written a lot of books. I probably published or co-published over a dozen books. And one of those books, I like to talk and write about school culture a lot. And one of my books was called Building School Culture, 1 Week at a Time. So I'm thrilled to be here. Appreciate the invite. Good seeing you folks from all over the country. Thanks for having me.
And next up, we have some students with Mrs. Murat from Binghamton, New York. Maine Enwell, if you could share an introduction.
Hi, my name's Ty Crusoe.
My name's Gabriella Caleo.
I'm Matt Edson.
They were part of our digital citizenship team last year, and so they're joining us today.
We are so glad you're here. And next up, we have Beth Hoof's class.
Hey, I'm Beth Huff. I'm over in the sidelines. I'm the proud principal of Fulton Middle School, and I have two of our students who happen to be brother and sister here, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
You can go.
Okay. I am Aaron. I'm a 7th grader at Fulton Middle School.
And my name's Abby, and I'm an 8th grader at Fulton Middle School.
Thank you so much for joining in today. We look forward to hearing your perspective. And we have some students joining from Terrace Bay.
I am Devani Patel. I'm a 7th grader from Terrace Bay Public School.
And I'm Eden Dunn, and I'm a 7th grader from Terrace Bay Public School.
And I know we also have members of our student team here. Sam and Darcy, would you like to say hello?
Hi, my name is Sam. I go to LDSS in Listowel, grade 9. I've been with the chat since the beginning.
Hi, I'm Darcy. I'm in grade 9. I attend GDCI, which is in the AMDSB School Board in Ontario. This is my 2nd year with the chat, and can't wait to talk about some school culture today.
Excellent. My name is Michael Drezick. I'm the District Tech Integrator at Lakeshore Central in Angola, New York, and also member of the Global Ed Student Chat team. And I know Jennifer Casatad is also with us.
Hi everyone, I am a teacher librarian at Cardinal Carter Catholic High School in Aurora. I'm also the author of Social Media and one of the co-founders of the team. We are excited to have this conversation. We are sorry we're not live, but nonetheless, I'm gonna get Sam to talk to us. Oh, look at that, thank you. I'm gonna get Sam to talk to us a little bit about how to get involved.
So, sorry, my dock closed. If you're watching on YouTube, you will notice that there's a comment space to your right, which there isn't because we're not live today. This is still a great way to share your own thoughts and ideas and add your own thinking to get involved in the conversation. And if you're on Twitter, you can follow the hashtag #GlobalEdSSChat to read ideas, thoughts, questions shared by others, and even share your own. Feel free to share your name and where in the world you're joining from today. If you ask questions, we will bring them to the panel. Please remember that audience members for this chat is K-12, so comments and questions should be appropriate for all ages. Thank you.
That's awesome, Sam. Thank you so much. And Darcy, if you can share our norms with everyone, please.
Sure. So we will have 20 minutes to discuss 3 questions. Please be mindful that this chat is open to K-12 students and active participation from classes who are watching. All comments made during the chat should be positive and productive. And just keep in mind that everyone is entitled to their own opinion, even though you may not agree with something someone has said. We ask that when challenging an idea that you respectively disagree with the idea and not the individual person.
Thank you, Darcy. And those are really important norms that the kids on the original team co-constructed. We are talking today about school culture, and according to ascd.org, school culture refers to the way teachers and other staff members work together with a set of beliefs, values, and assumptions. So how we all work together. And when we talk about a positive school culture and climate, we're talking about a place that helps students to learn. So with our first question, I'm going to ask Sam to jump in.
So our first question today is, why is it important for schools to have a positive culture, and what role do students play?
Is that for me, John?
It can be. What we like to do is we have the students talk, and then if there's anything that you want to pick up on based on what they've said, you can certainly delve deeper. So, or do any of the students on panel want to start us off with our discussion?
We would like to start. We think that it's important for schools to have a positive culture because a certain student could not be having the best day, and say you could compliment them on their really whatever, or just compliment them in general, and that could really brighten our day. So I think it's important for students, staff, or anything else to really be positive in a school.
Thank you for sharing. Could we have our friends from Terrace Bay talk about what you would like?
It is important for students because students will live in a positive environment, such as students working together kindly. They feel safe in our schools. They learn to work in a social environment, and they know how to take risks, such as answering questions you don't think are right or you don't think are wrong. So, yeah.
Thank you, friends. And so this idea of right or wrong is interesting in terms of school culture, isn't it? Miss Murat's class, Matt, Ty, or Gabriella, do you want to share your ideas for the first question?
Yeah, sure. I think it's very important to have a positive school culture because I think it promotes learning ideas throughout the school, and other students can bounce their ideas off of each other and better their education in that way.
And this idea of bouncing ideas off each other, right? It really speaks to the role that students play. Darcy or Sam?
I think it's important to have a positive school culture just because that way everyone feels like they can fit in and they can take risks to be like more successful academically and socially, and they can be more able to build a better version of themselves. I think that it's really important that students are invested in wanting to build this positive school culture because I think they're the deep root of creating that, and I feel like if they aren't invested, then you aren't going to create ones.
Yeah, I think it's definitely important to have a strong school culture because the environment and the culture in the school is going to affect everybody's learning, and it's going to it's going to, with a positive school culture, you're going to have more of a positive environment at your school, which usually improves everybody's learning in the school.
Thanks, Sam. I think, Devani, you wanted to jump in? Just unmute yourself.
I think it's important because so they can be themselves and they feel valued, cared for, and respected.
Gabe wanted to jump in with one thing.
I'm a student mentor for younger classes and grades in our school district, and I think that's very positive for the other students too, because it's easier than just going into a teacher's room, and then you can build a friendship with other students that aren't necessarily in your friend group, and it promotes a more positive environment throughout the school.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Wow, those are some great answers, everyone. I'm really impressed with what you're saying. You were saying a lot of things that I say when I speak and write and present around the country about school culture. So why is school culture so important? And a lot of you have already touched on this, and I think it's this. It enhances the results you're going to get at the school. A lot of you mentioned learning, and I honestly, truly believe, and I've probably been in 1,000 schools, mainly in the United States. I've probably been in 35 to 40 of the 50 United States, and I've observed schools that are very, very similar, with similar students and similar teachers and similar size schools, but the culture was palpably different. And school A would perform better than school B in a lot of areas, particularly learning. I honestly believe that if we couldn't do this, but if we could have a test where we put the exact same students in two different schools, but one had a really, really positive school culture and one kind of had a negative school culture, I would be willing to bet money that the one with positive school culture, even though they had the exact same students and the exact same teachers, would perform better on test scores, even in athletics and school spirit. I just think it invades every aspect of the school, that culture that we create. So I think it's so important. And I think, Jen, you talked about it being the beliefs and values and assumptions. I think it's our behaviors, our shared norms and values. And I think it's important that we talk about this. We can't just let school culture happen to us. We have to create the school culture, and then we're going to be created by that culture. So if we don't take the time to explicitly talk about what are the beliefs that we have. I think another reason that school culture is so important, whether you're in a school with 40 kids or 4,000 kids, there are 40 unique or 4,000 unique learners, whether it's high school, middle school, or elementary. So there's all these unique individual learners, and we want to respect all of those individuals. At the same time, we're a community, right? So even though I want to respect Darcy and Sam as individuals, I'm also going to expect them and everybody in this school to adhere to some common norms and values that we've talked about, and we've agreed that this is important. I sometimes like to do that by saying, what would you like to fill in the blank? If I want my school to be marked by a culture of blank. And that might start the discussion. And some of the things you said, a culture of working, I wrote these down when you all were talking, a culture of working together, a culture of safety, a culture of risk-taking, a culture of collaboration, a culture of fitting in. You guys said all of that. That's a good starting place for students to kind of come together, students who may be totally different in the way they look, the way they act, their academic abilities, their social emotional situation, but we're all going to come together around those values that we talked about: safety, risk-taking, collaboration, just to name a few that you guys named. And then once we do that and we say that that's important to us, no matter how we behave as individuals, collectively, we're all going to respect those shared values. And frankly, we're going to hold each other accountable to them. So adults in the building, for sure, if I see Michael's not doing something that we said we were going to do, I'm going to call him on it. Not as a got you, but just as an honest, polite, respectful, hey, Michael, we said we were going to do this, remember? And I want Michael to call me on that too. Not as a gotcha, but as a reminder that we said we were going to do this. And schools with positive cultures do what they say they are going to do. So I think it's having those conversations. What is important to us collectively, even though we're all unique individuals, what do we want to be marked by collectively? And then each of us holding each other accountable for upholding and adhering to those, whether you're a student, a teacher, administrator. So just a few quick thoughts on what you guys are saying. Good stuff, though.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, and I could just think to being an athlete in sports growing up, it's important that, we talk about the culture of a locker room, and the same thing goes for schools. But not if someone is called out on that, not to take it personally, to realize we're all in this together. We're all need to be moving in the same direction.
Michael, real quick on that sports one, I'm in Chicago right now, and is anybody a March Madness fan? Do you guys care about basketball, college basketball? It's still my favorite time of year. I coached basketball my whole life. 2 years ago, a little school here down the street from me called Loyola University, about 5,000 undergraduate students, made it to the Final Four. I mean, this is where Duke is going, and University of North Carolina is going, and Ohio State and schools like that. But little Loyola University made it to the Final Four. They had no business making it to the Final Four based on their athletic ability. I promise you, I've seen them. They're like a high school team talent-wise. What got them to the Final Four, Michael, was their team culture. Everything has a culture, not just a school, but every classroom has a culture, every sports team has a culture, every club has a culture, and it can move you way beyond your predicted ability. Loyola University never would have been predicted to be in the Final Four, but their team culture got them that far 2 years ago. And I'm just convinced of it, and I'm passionate about it. I think it's so important, so I'm thrilled you guys are talking about this.
Sorry, Erin, I know you were going to jump in, and then we need to move to question number 2.
Thank you, Jennifer. Like Jeff was saying, I feel like what he gave with the March Madness example, and it's important to have the team culture. Like a lot of other you guys said, it's important to know your team and then to know their culture, what they basically stand for, and how to get that into a teamwork type of place. So.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Sam, it sounds like there's a lot of similar ideas happening in Twitter. So why don't we move on to question number 2?
All right. Question number 2 is, what contributes to a negative school culture? What are some of the challenging things to building a positive culture?
Okay, I think Devani is going to go. Go ahead. Unmute.
There we go.
In my perspective, a negative culture is when students don't feel safe enough to say their opinions, and and so because they feel that way because they're scared that when they raise their hand and answer a question and they get it wrong, they're scared that other students will make fun of them. So a negative culture is when you feel not fitted in, left out, and unvalued, and yeah.
Okay. I would say contributions and challenges that come in the way when you're trying to create a positive school culture that makes it negative is staff and students who aren't committed to creating school culture or don't see the value of school culture, because I do believe they have to be invested for it to, be positive and to happen. I would say that kind of what you were saying, kind of with cliques and bullying and stuff, just because it goes against the sole purpose of school culture that's positive, because it promotes putting people down, and it's not encouraging people to step outside and take risks and stuff like that. I think negativity can be so bad just because I know what Jeff was saying about basketball. Just I feel with negative school culture, even if you might be predicted to do positive and you have a negative culture, it can also pull you in the opposite direction, and can kind of drag down your school. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
What contributes to a negative school culture? Well, a lot of things can. Even just kids being negative around like assemblies or things that are supposed to bring up your school culture. And I think that's a big problem, that a lot of kids are just like, oh, we have an assembly today, or oh, this is stupid. And that's not right. Like, a lot of it is just to try to build that positive school culture, and a lot of the time it's the kids that are really affecting that positive school culture.
So I think a negative school culture is people just not treating each other like they should. Like Sam and Darcy both had good points when they like said bullying and stuff like that isn't good. And it just doesn't help the people who might not have a bad day or just have stuff going on at home or at other places, and treating them like they're less than you isn't what should be done, especially, when they're down. So just treating people is really, I think, the main key in at having a negative school culture.
Being optimistic, like Sam said in the assembly, that most of the time kids were saying, oh, this is stupid, we don't want to do this. So just try to be optimistic, look for the positive. Thank you.
Especially here at Maine Endwell, usually teens online and through social media look at high school as shoving kids in the locker room, bullying, and all that stuff. And here at Maine Endwell, we use social media in such a positive way where we can connect with teachers and like their tweets and everything, especially through fundraising. And if somebody's in need, we're always there to help out, and we always encourage each other online, which I think really attributes inside of class too, because then when you see them in person, it's less awkward and you can just go right up to them and be like, oh, I saw you did this weekend, and you can build a friendship through that.
Hey, students, once again, some really great thoughts there on what contributes to a negative school culture. Some of the very same things I would say as an adult. Darcy, you talked about something I would say, you touched on it. I think one thing that contributes to a negative school culture is when we, first of all, don't start by investing the time to explicitly agree what our culture is going to be all about. And I think, Abby, you said, one of those is let's treat everybody right and with respect, right? So if we agree that that's part of our culture, that's good. The first problem comes when some people, we don't have that conversation explicitly to decide this is going to be what our culture is marked by. And then second, once we do that, I think we get a negative culture when we're too afraid and too polite to not hold each other accountable. And that's really, really hard, student to student, for me to say to another student, hey, Abby, we said we were going to treat everybody nicely, and you just did something kind of mean. I still love you. You're still my friend, but we said we weren't going to do that. And teachers need to model that first, and students need to feel safe to do that, to hold each other accountable. And I think the third thing I would say that kind of contributes to negative school culture is when we don't find ways to celebrate the positive school culture when it's happening, because after a while people will just get tired of, I thought we were going to have some fun with this. And I think we need to hold each other accountable when people aren't doing right, in a respectful, just not a gotcha, just respectful reminder. But we also need to celebrate when the culture is happening before our very eyes, the way we said we wanted it to happen, and recognize and just celebrate that.
Such great points. Thank you so much. Devanya and Eden, I know you wanted to also speak to some of the challenges.
So some of the challenges is that not everyone in the school or something like that understand what a positive culture is. So some of them might think some of them might not even understand it, so they're not aware of it, so they just basically say not really respectful things to other people, do unrespectful things to people.
And some people have been hurt and they want other people to feel the same way. So they bully others to make them feel the way they felt.
and almost to make them feel a little bit higher, so that it's almost like getting off the weight, but not getting off the weight.
Yeah, so that's it.
I really liked what Jeff said and how he used an example of
student.
Yeah, not being responsible enough, I guess, to follow the agreement. So another thing to help school positivity another way to another challenge that contributes to school negativity, thank you, Abby, is responsibility. So that's a big thing.
Thank you so much, friends. Is there any last thoughts here, Darcy or Sam, around this question? Okay. Lots of really great stuff happening in the Twitter chat. So please do use hashtag #GlobalEdStudentChat to respond to some of the really great things that are being said there. And we don't have a lot of time, just a couple of minutes. Sam, I think we've touched upon this a little bit already, but if you can take us into the last question for our tweet and talk, that would be awesome.
All right. How can building a positive school culture benefit students both academically and socially?
If it's okay for me to speak right now, if that's, yeah. I think that building a positive school culture will help you academically and socially, because you're more able to stay focused, I guess, in class when you have a positive mood instead of a negative one, because sometimes classes could be hard for a student and could ruin their day because of that class, because they get frustrated so much. But then say another student comes along and says a compliment to them, they start feeling more happy because they're not frustrated anymore. And yeah,
Just make you feel better in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really agree with what you're saying, Erin. I feel like when you have a positive school culture, everyone's just more overall happy, and like there's like more like a closeness to the school, and everyone's kind of just walking out of school like feeling like they belong and they fit in. I think it's also important, like academically, kind of like Jeff was saying, like schools will have more like academic success if they have a better school culture, just because like people want to feel like they're supported when they take risks. So if I'm gonna like raise my hand, or I'm gonna like contribute to the discussion, and like maybe I don't know, or maybe I'm gonna ask a question, and people, if they're gonna laugh at me and they're gonna make fun of me, then I'm not gonna take that academic risk, and I'm not gonna get anything out of the discussion. But if I think people are gonna support me and like cheer me on, then I'm more likely to like take part in that discussion, and I'll get more out of like that academically. So I feel like school culture is great because it makes everyone happy and it improves academics too. So
I agree with everything that Darcy just said. School culture, having a positive school culture definitely is good for positive attitude and social, with academic, lots of it is how the environment is in the classroom. And if everybody's positive, most likely you'll be learning in a more positive way and remembering that instead of insults that people are telling you or jokes or anything like that. You'll be more likely to learn in that positive environment. And socially, if everybody's positive, normally you have a better social environment too.
Thanks, Sam. Eden?
I really like what Darcy and Sam are saying, because like for academically, like I said about raising your hand and getting the wrong answer, if people laugh at you and make jokes, you're going to feel bad about yourself and you're not going to learn anything. But if you learn that if you make making mistakes helps you learn. And for the social part, almost like what Darcy said, like everyone's going to be happy and people can share that positivity to everyone.
Thank you. So we've got some great talk on Twitter as well. I'm sorry that you're not live, but Mr. DeBuono's class, who's joined us, talks about how a positive school culture contributes to people feeling welcome. Certainly as people feel welcome and they want to be there, they're more open to learning. So Jeff, do you have any last thoughts to contribute here? The students are awesome, aren't they?
Yeah, what a great panel of students from all over. Thank you. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your amazing thoughts. Again, honestly, a lot of stuff I write about and talk about as an adult. So I think if I go back to what is school culture at the beginning of this, I think Jen defined it as a few things. I usually say it's the norms, attitudes, behaviors, beliefs, celebrations, myths, and traditions in place at any classroom, school, team, whatever. But that's sort of big words or kind of sounds like a textbook definition. I also have heard it defined as it's just the way we do things around here. And when everybody is aware that this is the way we do things around here, then in a friendly, respectful way, we all hold each other accountable for reminding, because over a course of 180 days, we'll forget. And I'll fall down and I want you to remind me. It's not because I'm a bad person. It's not because you're a bad person when we forget. We just need a reminder. So it's just the way we do things around here. And I think it helps. It kind of creates a spirit of we're all in this together. We are all unique, whether we're adults or children or students, but we're also all in this together with the same goals and hopes and dreams collectively. And school culture helps keep that on track. So thank you very much for allowing me to be part of the discussion this afternoon.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff, for taking the time. Thank you to our friends from Terrace Bay, our friends from Fulton, Missouri, and all our friends from New York, as well as our team. I know we've dwindled, but we certainly have to thank you so much. Keep the conversation going. Use the hashtag #GlobalEdStudentChat. That's Global EDSS. CHAT. If you're interested in learning more about Jeff, you can find him at Jeff_Zoul, ZOUL. And watch for details about next month's chat, where we come again to talk about some of the topics that students really want to talk about.
January 14th, we'll be back and hopefully back online and streaming.
Hopefully back online and streaming. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Good to meet you.